a little bit about the building repair and the grounds improvement CRF that we added into the school, and just how we plan to fund it, because that's kind of new for us, and I don't see it up here on the town side, like how you're planning to replenish those. And I talked to our BA today, and he thinks we may decide to do more than 50 that first year. He still hasn't rolled them. I need those to be rolled to know what we're gonna put in. So that's my conundrum. But I'm just trying to understand the thought process behind it. Because I just took a picture of this from one of our manifests. We're just now asking for the funds to be moved. So these would be from 6:30 from the vote. From the vote last March. So that would be 50 going into the maintenance capital reserve fund. And so I know that we have here some balances.
So they were available on June 30 or whatever.
July 1, yeah. But we didn't, but the auditors came in August, but I still don't have audited financials.
Yeah.
But I know in our paperwork, that we did have those balances provided through this committee as of December 31st.
Is it us tonight?
It's not, no, because there's, remember we kind of talked about doing it at 6.
Yeah.
And there is a budget committee meeting tonight.
Okay.
So I'm just thinking that Donna and Charlotte are probably coming for closer to 6.
Okay,
So
that's fine.
you could at least wait for one more person, I would think.
Yeah, there's no Gene. There's no Gene.
Right.
He's away, so,
Oh, he's away.
yeah.
That's right.
So I think it kind of us.
I forgot he was away. Yeah, but Charlotte and,
He's away, yeah, he has a
And
trip.
Donna.
and, should be here. I'm assuming they're going to their other meeting, so.
Their meeting's at 7.
Right.
Okay,
In here,
yeah,
so,
that's right, okay. We should be out of here by then.
yeah. I don't think we have that much to do. Sorry.
It's okay.
So the administration where the hyphen is and the break is like off. I'm just looking at, for publishing.
You're talking about the actual, the CIP plan draft?
Yeah. The CIP itself, right? I don't know what fits. You could probably adjust like the road for cemetery too, you know, there's just a couple things that we need to figure out to make sure it fits on a page, and
Yes,
Nancy does all that, or,
she does.
okay,
She doesn't know it yet, but she will.
she would.
All right, so I got rid of the rogue hyphen.
Okay. Thanks. Figured that was like a no-brainer. And I'd like to maybe see if we could fit this on one page too. If we could fit this on one page instead of having
The backside. I think we probably can just change the
the
font,
format.
maybe get rid of the spacing in between the paragraphs.
Right, well, right, squinch the bullets up some and,
And that paragraph that starts with the only sources with direct, net new property tax, that, it's accurate, but it probably could go. Probably doesn't need to be in there necessarily. I don't know if that
well,
saves
yeah,
enough,
yeah,
but-
right, because it talks about, you know, typically with a 20-year amortization, which, I mean, we have one thing that we did 20 years and one, we did the school thing for 10. So that, at least strike out that line maybe, or shorten it, or,
Well, I understand the quote-unquote need for it,
Yeah.
but the likely sources of funding, that bullet, I think covers it, but doesn't necessarily describe how the process works in town, you know, I mean, we're so far forward of dollars trying to fund these things.
Right.
Seems like it
it doesn't really, right. it's
doesn't
not-
have to be there,
No.
if you're trying to shorten it to a page.
Yeah,
So were you
Yeah.
just saying that first sentence,
that whole paragraph.
that whole paragraph? Because the concern I had about that was, for example, when you see capital reserve fund / operating budget, it means that the board will attempt to cover as much of the expense as possible from the reserve fund, which
Yeah.
doesn't apply to the school district.
Yeah, right, so that whole thing could probably just go.
That whole paragraph.
Yeah.
And I do think some warrant articles
It's not really relevant. I
Don't
mean, it's
necessarily
great,
have-
but it's
It's
not
good
necess-
information, but it's not
Yeah.
really relevant to it.
and I don't think that the processes or the legally are the same between the school district, because we don't have a reserve fund.
Right,
So
yep, no, that's
us,
good.
it would
I had-
definitely mean we were gonna take it from the operating budget or a capital reserve account.
I had a problem with the word board,
Yeah,
what board? So,
right, and for the school board, it wouldn't work that,
yeah,
you wouldn't be able to do that.
I don't know if that takes it to one page or not, but,
Well, I mean, I think we could also, like, split the people, so that,
4 columns,
right, 4
Yeah.
columns, exactly, if we need to. We could scratch representative, because that's like,
well, yeah,
or just make it rep, if we need to.
well, representing is the column title, so you could get rid of representative, yeah.
Right,
Every
exactly.
one of them,
Yep, so that'll make it 4 columns easy.
yep,
I think on item 2, under the paragraph at the top of the back page, that I should just be capitalized, to be consistent with the others.
Which one, sorry? Oh, yeah,
Backside.
yes, I did notice a small I. Are you fixing this one too?
Yes.
You know how to make this spacing between the things smaller, right?
I think I can figure it out. Yeah, I got it.
I used to work on automating words, so.
yeah.
There's a whole lot of space in there.
Yeah.
And I'm finding I don't know anything about Google Doc.
Yeah, that's not the same as Word, I like
Yeah.
Word much better.
No.
And same thing with sheets and things, it's just not.
Yeah,
the same.
Well, they have to be different enough so that
Yeah, right,
they didn't get sued.
Also, under
Efficiency.
how to read,
What's that?
I said, that's efficiency.
Yeah.
under the first bullet on how to read the plan, it says the list of anticipated projects for both the town and school. I just think that should say school district, because
Okay,
Yes.
because it's, right, because that's technically correct.
Hi, Charlotte.
Yeah.
Oh, you are cold. I'm nice and warm inside, thank you.
freezing out there, isn't it that
Hey,
warm?
Charlotte.
Gosh, it's brutal. How are you, John? Hi, Skip. Did you have a nice dinner the other night at Telly's?
I did have a nice dinner the other night.
Yeah, we're making some adjustments to the text thing, get it onto one page.
Oh, excellent, excellent.
Oh, yeah, and my
Ellen's making the
name
adjustments
is,
now.
is spelled weird. So it's Leven instead of.
Oh,
Oh,
Sue's name's spelled wrong.
L-E-V-I, okay, E-N-S-O-N.
She's getting me ignored.
Oh, I'm sorry, I
All
distracted
right,
you.
no, it's there. Thanks. I can cuddle in closer here, can I?
yeah.
Come over.
That depends where you
Nice
wanna,
holiday.
you could just sit in your seat where you wanna sit next.
I like to move around.
That's good. Keep people guessing.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. So,
I've got it on one page, just meant, I shortened up the margins a little bit, it's down to one page now, so you're good.
well, you didn't have to shorten the margins because it's gotta fit in both. Keep the margins too.
The margin is wide enough. It just didn't need a full 1 inch on both sides.
What, yes, well, it depends on which side you put.
Yeah.
So we're moving the whole thing. Okay, great.
I think Nancy will figure that out.
All right. So we're on one page now?
One page,
So we
yes.
fixed Sue and the school district,
Give him a little eye.
little I.
And
Took
the
out that one
paragraph out.
paragraph,
Yep.
okay.
Oh, I didn't even notice your name was messed up.
No, I didn't look. It saw 16, I kinda was, yeah. It probably just looked the first name.
Thanks for watching.
Got everybody.
Oh, yeah, look, I need an E, A after the first E in my name.
Your name's spelled.
Unless I'm trying to hide. S-E-A,
Thinking about
B-E-R-N-S.
thinking about you.
Maybe it auto-corrected. Because I have it correct.
It does things like that, but
Well, I don't know, that's weird. Or maybe I did it when I changed Sue's. I don't know.
oh. Is it Joe right on yours?
Yeah.
One of these is good, the other isn't. I don't know which one this
Somebody
is.
fixed it.
Huh?
Apparently somebody fixed it.
Yep. Okay, well, there you go.
So we're on to this now?
I guess we could be on this. All right. So,
So do we like this? I think we like this now, right?
I think we like this now, yeah.
Charlotte, do you need a recap or are you brought up to speed?
I do, so, I had a couple of things. Sorry about that.
It's okay.
Late.
Well, we originally talked about doing 6 o'clock and then,
And you know what, that's what I had in my mind, and I went, oh, I'll break it in half and see if I'm right. Sorry, guys.
I came early for you, Charlotte, it's okay.
Thank you, Skip, it means so much
Because
to
I
me.
missed, because I came late
And
the other
Susan
time.
just,
so,
I didn't
yeah.
even need to be here, Susan just caught me up already. It's great. So I just had, you know, I spoke with Courtney briefly today in recreation, and I was looking at her request, and it actually looks like the playground picnic shade is $16,000. She had added, sorry, hang on, this is right here. She had added some other items in there.
Oh, did that originally, because that had probably originally included the sidewalk.
I wonder if it did.
I
I
think
was just gonna go back to the original request.
And her other, issue that I picked up on too is that on her request for this year, her number one priority was to have
The
not
side
only
lot
the
paved.
sidewalk, but this area right outside, which is 16,000.
Okay, yes, the basketball court?
Yes.
Yes.
Right.
And I think the reason why that may have been removed from the plan, and I'll have to go back through, but I think we discussed trying to incorporate that with other paving projects that were gonna happen, so it didn't need to be a standalone project.
We did, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, because I know that came back to me like in the middle of the night, and it was a big safety thing. A lot of kids have been falling out there. It's
Yes.
pretty, it is in pretty rough shape. So she wasn't sure where that had gone, and I couldn't tell her.
Okay.
Sorry.
We'll double check that for sure, yeah, because she gave us the original, repave the area outside the gym at the town hall, pave the walkway around the playground. So that was 29,500. And then we took care of the walkway out of the ARPA funds.
So I got that, and that was lower anyway than
Right.
CIP requirement.
Right, and maybe that's the difference, is that, because the original paving piece
It's 6.
was higher
Yep.
than what we're doing it for, because we're having the town do the prep.
Yeah. At any rate, she did express some concern about that
So that,
particular area.
so that should only be 16,000?
That's my understanding, and, her budget request, got so many papers here, sorry.
So instead of the 23, you think it would be 6?
Well,
She
So
said it was
let me
part,
ask-
but Skip might know, but.
let me ask
You
this
know more about
question.
this, Skip?
There was something that went on at the selectmen's meeting, which is fine, as to how to pay for some of these things.
Yes.
And so, I guess what I'm wondering is, should the CIP reflect the information that may have been worked into some of those budgetary, requirements prior to the, going to kind of like your last meeting for
Yeah.
budget committee and that kind of stuff? So should it still be on here? In asking that question, I guess I'd look at this particular line that says 23, up it to 29 and put sidewalk on it? Does that make sense, or it's gonna be done in 2025?
Correct. But the funds are 24 funds.
Right, but again, this is CIP.
Yeah.
We're not concerned about the,
But it's a project, yeah.
yeah, you know what I'm saying? I don't know where it goes, I just,
Right, so do we just move it back to the 29? Well, actually, no, it's gone altogether.
No, it would be,
Well, no.
it would be more than that, because if they're asking for,
There was-
I'm pretty sure it's 16,000, what it actually breaks down to being in her request, in her primary request, which I
Okay.
cannot find at the moment, sorry.
for
The shade,
For the shade area.
for the
yeah.
shade, which is a
For full
separate,
request was 29.5.
Right.
for that,
Which
it was on
includes,
another page,
No, the-
was her priority. There's a first, second, and third priority.
Right, so
Which is so
the
easy to
first
overlook.
priority was the repave the area outside of the gym and then take care of the walkway.
Right.
So a portion of that was having an outside contractor come in and deal with the site work, the drainage, everything that was needed to pave, and then the paving, because it was smaller, was gonna be done separately by Manchester Paving, I think is where she got the
Yes,
quote.
she got an estimate, right, yeah.
So we broke out the paving, or the Board of Selectmen broke out the paving cost and said, we'll take care of that out of the ARPA funds. And then the assumption is that the remaining balance was gonna be the site work, which the highway department's going to do
Oh, they
at no
are.
charge.
Oh, fantastic.
Correct.
Okay.
So I think that's where that portion of that plan, which was priority 1 of 3, was actually removed from the CIP, because it's going to happen, it's just gonna happen as a natural course of
Okay.
business. Priority 2 of 3 was to acquire a used 15-passenger van, and then part 3 was the playground structure,
right,
wood chips, permanent picnic tables, and some area cleaning for a total of 23,000, of which the shade structure was 15. So that shade structure, even if it's increased to 16,000, that's still part of the 23,000 that remains here on this plan.
So that 20,
So that's
is there
fine as
anything
is.
else in that 23,000?
It's 15,000 for the playground shade structure, permanent picnic tables, 3 regular and 1 ADA accessible, so that was $6,000. And then 100 yards of new wood chips was $2,000.
Okay, so the 23,
Incorporates all of those
okay,
items.
all right, so that's.
23 works, so.
Okay, all right, sorry, I only thought it was 16
Yep.
total. So, okay, so
Well,
that's
I was,
23.
yeah, I misled you, sorry.
No worries. So, all right, so that's good. So, to answer your question, Skip, I think that since those projects are now funded from the 24 funds, they don't need to be on a CIP, because the CIP is actually looking forward.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
Yeah,
that's my thoughts on that.
I think
Yeah.
the goal was to have the CIP, we've started later and later, we're earlier than we were last year.
Yeah.
But I think the intention was to get this plan drafted as the selectmen were considering projects for funding for 2025. But now we're already at the point where,
but you could also use it for 2024 as you're getting towards the end of the year too, if we were.
Right.
Right, which is
kind of
we
what they did.
Exactly, so that's why I was
So
thinking,
smart.
if we could fit it in here somehow, and then, maybe label it as ARPA or, however that went, might make some sense, but,
Yeah,
Well,
no,
I did-
I was
I
debating.
did have that on there, that one in particular that we funded, I did have it under there, but because we were doing the site work in-house, then
Right.
that brought the level down below the CIP threshold of the
oh,
$10,000.
that's true, okay.
So I think that was the rationale behind
That
saying, it
Doing
probably
the
doesn't even need to be outlined here.
Work things
Okay,
is,
right.
in-house is pretty nice.
Right,
Yeah.
yeah, no, it's smart.
Right.
Yep, I like that.
Okay. So 23 is still good, right?
23 is still good. 23 is the good number.
Okay, so my understanding, hi Donna, my understanding is that this pathway will get done, it's all set, and this will also, by Manchester paving sometime in 2025, this area to the east of the gym, wonderful.
So what we did just before Christmas, we had gutters installed on the building, which will help with the runoff,
Oh, I didn't know
especially
that. Oh, great.
because where the community center gym connects with the rest of the building, it's a pocket where it just continues to erode.
Yeah.
So they installed gutters, which will help with that, and then they have to do some additional drainage, which will happen in the spring. Actually, we could probably do it now, but.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
That's great. I have a Picayune thing that has nothing to do with this particular sheet. I was just thinking about updating the population info that comes in our packet. I had a chance to do a little bit of research and, discovered that although New Hampshire is trending to be older, in fact, Nottingham, the number of kids 18 and under has increased, and the number of elders has decreased. And I can actually think of some pretty good reasons of why that is, although it's surprising. And the median age is 40.8 years, which is below the median age of New Hampshire, which is 43.5, I think. So it's interesting, right now in town, there are 1,008 people 65 and older, but there are 1,279 kids under 18.
Which has gone up for us. It goes to 18 or 19. I think.
Actually, yeah, this is 19, you're right. So that was interesting, and although that may change, I can think of some reasons of why this town may be different than the whole
Rockingham County in
state.
general is showing growth, and there was a
Yeah,
recent
yeah.
article out, relying on census data information, saying that the state now is showing 2% growth. And it's not, it's in pockets, it's not every county, but Rockingham County is definitely one
Yeah,
of
the
them.
north
So they're gonna be looking
counties
for
are
more.
not
And I
doing
think
well,
UNH
but-
is engaging on that, so I was gonna look into that more.
So this is
We are
interesting,
growing. We
and
are starting to grow
I do
again.
feel that we should look at that, because that does affect Plan planning? You know, are we thinking about building a senior citizen center, or are we thinking about growing a preschool, or are we, you know, for planning? So that's something I do think we should take a look at every year and update. It's easy to overlook, but I do think it would help us.
Yeah, it should be part of master plan stuff.
Yes. It's a good reason for the master
You on
plan.
Exactly.
Charlotte, are you pulling those statistics off the community snapshot that SRPC did?
I'm sorry. I was talking out of turn. I'm
And
sorry.
I wasn't paying attention to you talking, I'm sorry. Were you pulling those statistics off the community snapshot that SRPC?
Yeah,
Okay.
because that's what we use here. But I also went to the US Census as well, which confirmed that there are persons 65 years and older in this town make up 19.4% of the community, and persons under 18 make up 28%. That's right. You know, so like common sense would tell us, oh, yes, that we, you know, it's older, but when you really look at the evidence, it's not true in our community.
If you look at those snapshots year over year, that at the average age has gone down.
Yeah,
It was
it's really interesting.
43 or 44 before, and the amount of kids under 19 has gone up quite a bit.
And I can think of some reasons for that, and also the fact that there isn't really any senior housing here, maybe making the population of seniors go down, but, yeah, it's a change.
I was going to ask a question, if it's appropriate at this point.
Go for it.
Nice talking.
Under the police, the station replacement planning build,
Yes.
somehow we lost the 40K in 2025.
Right.
And that seems like it would be appropriate to have that for planning purposes or whatever, or purchasing land. I know it's probably not enough for that, but I mean, just some placeholder for that kind of stuff.
Right, I remember us talking about it and saying that I thought we said that the 250 should cover that.
Yeah, I thought we said we weren't gonna be able to do it in 2025.
Right.
It was
But we
getting
didn't
deferred.
bump up and then we talked about the 250 for the next year, thinking that that would
Coverage.
be enough to cover that.
Right.
But
But I guess the question I'm asking is, can we do anything prior to that? She wants a new station. I mean,
Well, it would have to be a warrant article,
right.
Yep.
It was-
so it
right.
depends on where you are with your warrant article.
Well, as of right now, I mean, we're presenting the final operating budget to the budget committee tonight, and because of the 4% tax cap, there were just a minimum of 6 warrant articles that had monetary value attached to them.
Right.
So I think that was why it was removed from the plan, because it's not actually being considered a warrant article for
We
2025.
have no runway for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hear you.
Yeah.
I guess I'm just still looking at this as, we're not really doing,
So,
we're trying to do some planning ahead of time, even though it's at the same time that everybody else is doing it.
But there's also a year gap, right? It's kind of like that's 2026 and then nothing in 2027.
Right.
So do we split that out so that, is it more realistic that that number's split between 2026?
Well, I think if we actually go into the process of developing something, it's gonna be like a one year kind of deal.
Sean,
Yeah,
right.
okay.
But,
It's gonna, and then it would take, that's kind of what we talked about, was it would be the 1 year kind of deal with a period of time to do the warrant article for the bond.
right,
Right,
and all that,
okay.
And that's why we left the
That's right.
27 empty.
yeah.
Yep.
That
was
part
the
I
discussion.
understand, and I'm just wondering about 25 to put
Yeah.
something in there.
So, yeah,
Yeah.
either that, or do we bump the 40, do we move the 250? No, because that's not gonna
No.
give us time for planning and preparation for a bond.
Yeah,
Right,
I'm,
yeah, I mean,
in the world that's out there, in the budget world, you can say, no, we're not gonna do the 40K because of this, but it seems,
Yeah, but what's the point of putting it in 2025 if we know it's not gonna happen? Because essentially what it's saying.
Because it goes in the town report that way, that this is not a surprise to other people coming down the road.
Yeah, except for the fact that the select board is giving us their input on their priorities for 2025.
Yeah, and it's on the police priority, so it's on that list. I mean,
Yeah,
again, this is kind of like,
I know, it's, right, we're kind of like caught in between here.
yeah,
That, I mean, is this supposed to be, hey, I know it's a wish list,
yep,
but in retrospect of 2025 being right here, where we're at now, we know that we can't fund that. So,
I think it's confusing if we put something there, because people are gonna read this and go, oh, we're doing that.
well, and
I get your point, Skip, I'm frustrated too, but we can
I don't know the
agitate
answer.
and agitate in the meantime, you know?
I do too, it's like,
Yeah.
I feel like we're caught between that rock and that hard spot.
yeah,
That we just, you know, we know for 2025 that there's no funds to actually fund that. And, which is kind of why we kind of pushed it into the 26 and kind of spread that out, because I think it originally, at one point, I think that there was, like, it just jumped right in. We tried to make this more realistic from a monetary perspective. But yes, yeah. Yeah, I don't know what the right answer is.
I don't either.
okay.
So the $40,000 was mapped out for planning and a feasibility analysis. So, I mean, again, these were just estimates that were provided back in 2023,
Right,
when this request came in. So, I mean, is $40,000 a realistic figure? You know, can we put it out there? Do we have any?
well, I didn't say it was realistic, I was using her figure, that's all.
But that's what I'm talking about, is this is just to start the planning stages to determine whether this be the location or an off-site location. And then the 250,000 is for the architecture and the engineering
Right.
end of it, so.
And some of that we could kind of do for free with internal committees and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
So,
That's what I'm
But-
saying,
but-
so like, even though $40,000, we might not be able to achieve it by warrant article, we might be able to at least start
something.
creating a committee and getting the process moving forward in the right direction without a cost.
And there wouldn't be cost associated with it, but it shows that something, that
Right.
there's a plan.
Yes.
Exactly.
That's kind of what I'm looking at here. And it
steering
doesn't have to be
committee.
40K.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of like outreach and education,
Yes.
you know, like we need to start, get everybody on board, right? We need a year to do that, I think.
And it also helps you tell if your 250 is.
Yeah,
No,
that's on board. I don't have a clue.
yeah,
But like you say, the reality is you don't have funds. to
right,
put aside.
And we know the reality for 2025.
right, we know the reality for 2025.
In large part due to your budget cap.
Yeah.
Anything else in police?
No.
All right. And fire, rescue, we think we're probably good, right?
Yep.
Do we, just what you just said about the budget cap, do you think we need to say something in here about the fact that the subsequent years don't take into consideration the budget cap?
No, I don't, I think because you said I think you kind of covered that.
Okay.
We did strike out a paragraph.
Yeah, I asked them to share that with me.
Okay. We got it to one page.
That's good, that's really good.
All right, so Public Works. So,
Okay, so like, we've got pave management program and asphalt management.
Okay, so pavement management program, I think that was a line item that got unhidden, so, when Sean McLean was here, he was looking to have the pavement management plan that's in existence updated, because
right.
with COVID, everything kind of got backlogged.
So can
Steve,
you delete that line?
we could delete that line, absolutely.
just hide it, whatever.
Well,
right?
Yeah, hide it.
hiding
I don't,
makes- No, hiding.
then it comes up.
Yeah, hiding it makes this
And it
spreadsheet really
confuses me.
difficult to work with.
Okay,
And it
well,
just-
because we have past, actually, that was empty for all the past years.
Yeah, so just,
So
I
you
say
can delete
delete
that.
it.
Yeah,
That's the
fine.
one that used to show the streets that were planned and the overall general
Yes.
asphalt
Yep.
that was
Oh,
gonna be
okay.
used per
Yeah.
square
'Cause
mile.
I was baffled. I
It's
had
still
no-
a reference tool that we can use for future planning purpose when we have money for road reconstruction, but right now it's just, everything's on hold,
Right, so that's gone, good.
But asphalt road maintenance and reconstruction.
So the asphalt road maintenance and reconstruction, that's funding the road maintenance and paving projects for the ensuing year.
And are we doing any reconstruction of roads?
Are we doing any road reconstruction?
Yeah,
There is a.
just maintenance. I think it's just maintenance, right?
Maintenance comes out of the general fund.
So I don't know what's planned.
Okay, I'm not sure what this line means.
Which one?
If we have to,
Road maintenance and
if we have to rebuild a road, rebuild a base, or reconstruct a road before either
Yeah.
it gets to pavement or,
Well, we don't have any scheduled for that, do we?
what do you mean we don't have it scheduled?
The roads that were identified are not necessarily gonna be reconstructed, right? Aren't they just putting I don't wanna say top coat, but
Correct.
okay.
Yeah.
There used to be the two sections. One was my recollection from prior CIPs is that you had the estimate for the maintenance and things, curbing and things like that that had to be done every year. And then there was the separate plan for the roads, and it used to list the roads.
Did we dig up and all that
You're
kind
gonna
of stuff?
actually go out, like Kelsey was on it, and all kinds of, and they put them in order that they would attack them, but apparently that's not funded right now.
I think it was always split into the two. There was a portion in the operating budget and then a portion as a separate warrant article. And then with the tax cap, money was moved out of the operating budget into a warrant article until we realized that it was
It's
all
still
part of the tax cap.
Yeah.
Right,
So I think everything just kind of got lump summed together. So it's a matter of whether it's a shimmer, an overlay, or road reconstruction, or new pavement. It's
all in it.
anything for road related.
It's all in this particular,
Correct.
okay.
And can you update us on the grader replacement?
Can I update you on it?
Well,
Didn't you see it out
Do you
there
want
in
to
the
know about
driveway?
our current grader?
oh, yeah,
Our current grader is still not repaired.
elderly.
Um,
Could that be considered an emergency to have to replace that?
It could, right now, we have a loaner grader that we're only being charged for it as we use it. Yes, absolutely, but the plan is to move forward with a purchase of a new grader.
Right.
Using the money that is set aside in the capital reserve fund that the Board of Selectmen are agents to expend from, and, some, I don't wanna call it excess, but it's not, but we technically did have some excess fund within the 2024 operating budget due to positions not being filled. So, under the selectmen's authority to be able to do, appropriation transfers within the operating budget.
And that sounds great to me. My understanding was there was an objection to the use of that money by the selectmen.
There was some correspondence that was received. It has not been addressed by the Board of Selectmen because they haven't met since.
But funds left over from budgets are raised and appropriated, and they've been approved,
By the
put
legislative
forward
body.
by the legislative body,
Correct.
approved.
Correct.
And because the governing body has, line item authority.
Transfer authority, they are legally able to do so,
So
correct?
that's-
Okay, so it's legal.
Yes.
What Ellen just said was the key thing, is that the select board are agents of the fund.
right.
Well, that's for the capital reserve fund, but as far as like the operating
Yes.
budget, they also have the ability to line item transfer
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
appropriations for within the appropriation.
And they had been appropriated. I guess
Correct.
that was
Right.
the
Yeah.
question, right?
Yes.
Whether it actually was
Yeah, through a
appropriated or
vote,
not.
that you
Yes,
raise and
yes.
appropriate, and
Makes
I think
total
that's
sense to
why
me.
people go through and make sure that lines have funding.
Right, which, I mean, and it's only how many other categories, anyway, it's not every single line, it's only the
By
lines.
function?
The
The function,
lines,
yeah.
correct. Those are, if there's $1 in a function line, you can move funds into it, or take funds out of it.
Correct.
If it's a 0, you cannot do anything with that function. So like airports, we have 0. We have no airport, it doesn't matter.
Right.
The bottom line is that because it's coming from capital reserve, unassigned fund balance, and there was some discussion of ARPA, I don't know if that's still in play, but regardless, none of those are net new tax
Correct.
impact.
Correct.
So
It's
the
not-
RSA that was referred to in that letter
We're,
does not apply.
we are not overspending our budget.
Correct.
I didn't see any letters, but I have always thought that people had, the governing bodies had by statute line item authority.
It's
And
not
that
just
thought
the-
that
these things
too.
are raised and
It's not just the
appropriated.
line item,
Wonderful.
it's being
Right.
questioned.
Yeah.
Okay,
Um,
well, I'm thrilled, because we
so-
sure need one.
And my question there would be, do we now remove the grader replacement? Because that will be
That's gonna be,
a 24 purchase.
Well, it's technically not, because we won't be making the purchase until 2025. It has to be built.
So then-
It's not like they have it on stock, we can't just go pick it up.
So we changed the fund source to,
So technically, what's going to happen is it will be an expenditure. We pay for it when we pick it up.
right, so we changed the fund source to, what's that called when you, it's set aside?
Encumbered?
Encumbered,
Yes.
thank you.
Yeah, I think that's more appropriate. The reason why I put unassigned fund balance is because I have to go back and listen to the meeting recording, but I think that's the way the formal motion was made. We might have to do some housekeeping, just to clarify that motion that was made on the 23rd.
Yeah,
Because
what's
essentially,
fine.
excess funds are returned to your unreserved fund balance, so it is 6 of one, half dozen of the other, but you don't have the authority to expend unassigned fund balance without a warrant article. So, I agree, it should say encumbrance, not unreserved.
Yes, it should say encumbrance, and, yeah, I think we use whatever was left from ARPA too. for that, right?
We did not commit ARPA. ARPA was toward the UTV purchase.
Oh, we committed ARPA.
Oh, I did
If there was
too.
any
I was
ARPA
mis-
left
There was $9,200,
after.
and I think
So we put that towards,
towards the UTV.
okay, all right. I know that we
It
put it
was-
towards one or the other.
Yes, yeah,
Okay. So that we didn't leave any ARPA on the table. was the
Correct.
plan. Okay.
Good,
So there's no warrant article for the grader.
correct.
Correct.
Okay.
wow,
And I think that was part of that correspondence
yes,
Yeah.
that the townspeople
So, all
did.
right, so that'll be
Yep.
encumbered
Great.
funds. Okay,
great,
perfect.
it's good news.
Okay.
And since we're on that topic, the four-wheeler or the,
UTV.
with the police, same deal, right? We're
Well,
not,
it's the same deal, so it is another line item transfer. You take the police department's equipment line, and it's just a matter of transferring money that's left over in their wage line into that line item to make the purchase happen.
so that doesn't show on here either.
No, it's not on here because it wasn't actually identified
Right, okay.
as a CIP, but we can put it on there just for,
And how,
total
how
cost
much
of
is
it?
that?
I think it's just shy of 20,000. They've been authorized up to 20,000.
I don't think
With
it,
the cover, it was like exactly,
Yeah.
I don't think it matters. The 40 didn't play, so I mean, that's fine. I just,
Yeah,
okay. All right.
are we done with that one? Public Works?
Unless somebody else has something on it.
Nope.
Okay.
Library, I know Jen Phillips talked about doing it in 2026. I kind of have the same thought process on this one, that
About,
it being in 2026, yeah. I think it should be in 2025, and if it passes to 2026, okay. But it's ADA compliant, says in the line, seems like it should be.
I completely agree with you, Skip. I think we should address that as quick as we can.
Yep. And if we can't, that's fine, but at least
Right.
it
but-
shows.
But leaving it there, I mean, that's what Jen kind of pushed back for.
Yep, I hear you.
But if we can figure out a way to do it in 2025,
But again, you're not putting forward a warrant article for it.
that we can't really. but-
Right.
So if we can do some other funding or something, I know that we can do some of the work, right. So if we do work from the
Yep.
the highway department, you know, that's covered through, the regular budget, so that's not like
Yep.
part of the capital.
I mean, I guess if they can do some of that, you've got those two 100 numbers for 2026. If something can be done, what it would do next year is lower that number.
Right,
Yeah,
Right,
right, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
yeah.
which is always a good thing.
Which is always a good thing.
Yep. So
I'm
I
just
think-
afraid if it doesn't show here, it won't pop into somebody's brain that
Well,
we
it's
could
true.
do that, so, I mean,
It's true.
it's an interesting tool.
It is, right?
So, okay,
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's the whole point. You gotta use the whole tool to say, okay, don't just look at this line,
yeah,
look
right,
across.
Yeah.
okay.
So we did talk about rec, the cemetery, we just have a placeholder for TBD. I don't think we have any quotes or anything on that.
No.
So we know that we wanted to do it like then-ish.
It was a loose request that was received from one of the cemetery trustees, so it's a matter of regrouping, finding out exactly what their expectations are for the end result, and then having somebody go out and check.
Yeah, I have no idea how
Lengths and-
urgent the need is. I haven't gone on a site visit.
But we do have, at least have the placeholder to say,
Yeah.
hey,
So that was kind of like one of the questions, is that the standard for these CIPs, that if we don't know the amount at this point in time, but we know it's a priority, that we're gonna put it in there with a TBD?
I think
I like that.
it makes sense to a degree, as opposed to saying, oh,
flag
it's gonna
was
Something
cost.
up, yeah.
Well, maybe it's like what, the TBDs are the items that you can address when you regroup for
Right.
the next plan and say,
Right.
okay, we have this as a placeholder, is this gonna move forward?
Right, because,
Or not.
yeah,
That's
fine.
yeah, we definitely shouldn't expect a TBD in 2025. I really
Correct.
don't like a TBD in 2026. I think maybe we can talk about those kind of rules moving forward,
Yeah,
to say that, okay, if we don't have a firm enough number, it's gotta be at least 2 years out.
yeah, because
Something like
I would
that.
be afraid of overuse of the TBD.
Right, exactly.
That's right, because if it's a priority, you're gonna be
Right.
looking at,
Right,
Exactly.
but, I mean,
And is cemetery really a department? I mean,
it is.
It does have an operating budget within the
okay,
operating
It's
budget.
one, it's one of those function lines.
yeah, okay,
So if that got zeroed, you couldn't spend anything.
yeah, do, yeah, okay, I'm good.
So administration, so the invasive species, you brought up a good
You had a
point.
Yeah.
question, yeah?
Yeah, because it's not capital.
That's technically not capital.
Yep,
Should we just strike that line?
Is it not, though?
it's not.
Is it,
Because you're controlling something that could negatively impact your largest asset in town.
it,
Yeah, it's a
as
funny
long as it's a study and there's some resultant at the end?
It's a treatment. I mean,
Well, it could
we're
be a
maintaining
treatment.
the
It could be
preservation
right.
of the
Right,
lake.
but I mean,
It could be treatment,
yeah,
which is
I mean,
really what, so in that sense, maybe it is capital?
it's kind of like building a
Lifespan,
building,
three-year
except you're not,
It's a
the
building-
capital
it's
is not the building in this
Right.
case, it's the
Right.
lake.
Okay,
But-
so let me play
It's
devil's
property.
advocate then.
It's property.
What about textbooks?
It depends
They're
on
on a
whether or not
6
you
years.
want to contain
The
an
cycle doesn't
aggregate
matter. It's-
value.
It's like, is it a physical, thing? Which is kind of what I see as capital, I mean, on my interpretation of that.
I think the useful, well, been a while, but the useful life of textbooks, I believe, is shorter.
Than 3 years?
well, we don't,
Well, I'm just saying
we
that
don't, we don't
things,
put our
Depends on the
text, we don't
subject.
put our, we have a
No.
6-year cycle on textbooks, but we don't put them into the CIP.
Right.
Although we do have a capital reserve account
Right, and maybe-
to meet our cycle.
So
and it's-
according to your committee, it's any expenditure for a project, facility, or equipment having useful life of at least 3 years and requiring a gross expenditure of at least
Project.
10,000.
So project
Project.
makes sense for, the invasive species fund, because it technically would be a
Project.
And yes, then I think textbooks probably belongs in here as well.
capital reserve fund, yes.
Right, it has capital reserve fund.
Yeah.
We should probably have a line item for that.
But that's not a capital reserve fund.
We have
yeah,
we have a
textbooks.
capital, yes,
They
they're,
do.
they're capital reserve funds.
Right.
But I don't know that all capital reserve funds are specific to,
That's
this,
technically
this.
capital. It's just a, it's,
I don't know, when I think about accounting, I think of, when you think of capital projects, they're projects that are, that have infrastructure to them, that have a tangible, entity that has a life of, in your accounting books, that exceeds 3 years and has a threshold, so it has, it has a dollar value and a life threshold.
So your textbooks, they have a dollar value.
I don't know that textbooks meet the,
You said
meet the
you have a
criteria.
6-year plan
We
for
have a
them.
6-year plan, so.
So that's within, that's double the 3-year. To me, it fits just as
But I
a
don't think
cruiser.
that they're a capital improvement from an accounting.
Well, then why would we have cruiser in here?
A cruiser?
Yeah. I mean, that's only got a 3-year lifespan. We budget for a new cruiser every year. We just, it falls in the same category.
And it has a value,
Right, it has a value.
so,
Yeah, the textbooks are probably 100,000, or depending on the, they're definitely in the budget, we definitely have a capital reserve to smooth it out. We also
Right,
have a
right, which is-
tuition capital reserve fund that it doesn't have any tangible.
yeah,
Yeah,
the
but
tuition aspect probably does not.
Right, because those are,
So I guess my argument would be, just because there's a capital reserve fund doesn't necessarily mean that the items purchased out of it or through it would be capital
That's what I'm.
Correct.
Or that's what I'm
Correct.
right, which is why I
improvements from
think
an
the
accounting
books,
standpoint.
from the book's perspective, I think makes sense. From the students or the special ed one, I don't think those make sense.
Right.
With it.
So, and we could add that row. We kind of have an idea of what that.
You could add
those-
textbooks if you think it meets the criteria, and we have it's coming out of a local
Good.
operating budget at this point, for next year.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure I agree with that, but,
I don't see it, but myself.
Yeah.
But, because they are kind of, it's a difference between consumption, which a textbook would be consumed, if you will, versus, something that is depreciated, and you're matching the life of it over, multiple periods, so you're paying 100,000.
From the
And you're
counting.
taking the life of it over 6 years or whatever. So I do see a difference, but I don't,
Do you-
again, I don't know that this is tying to accounting rules, so.
Right,
think
and do
it's
you,
not really.
combine those? Do you have an aggregate amount of all your textbook value on your capital assets for your audit inventory? Not your audit, for your financial statements?
I'm not sure that they have textbooks in there, I could look.
Yeah.
I would imagine that they would have a value.
I'll look.
does it make a difference if it's a one-time purchase versus a recurring purchase?
Yeah, that's the other thing, I mean, it's,
Well,
the
and that's why I
reason,
went back to the cruiser thing, because the cruiser thing is definitely a recurring purchase.
And that's why I asked about how the longevity of
Yeah.
what you buy, because it seems like today you'd have to change it about every 6 months.
Right.
Well, yeah, but you're doing 6 years, right, Sue?
Right.
Oh, that's for your
there are
program.
a 6-year review cycle, which doesn't necessarily correlate to a purchase. It's partly to review the content and make sure you're within, state.
Because you're doing that now with your math program.
Yes, we're doing it now with the math program. Yep.
So does that mean that they last at least 6 years?
Yes, you want them to last at least 6 years. But if you found there was an issue, you'd have to do some
Right,
upgrades and whatnot.
right, of course.
So, and the reason we primarily did it was to ensure, A, that we're not using out-of-date programming, and B, that we can sort of modulate the cost, and have a plan for that.
Interesting question.
So I'm not opposed to putting it as a row, just because, to me, it fits the given criteria of what it says in our notice. And what the law says.
guess it's your committee, it's your
I
plan, you
know,
can
I
choose
know,
to include,
I know,
or.
I know, we just need to make sure we document whichever way we go.
Semantics, but I get what you're saying about
Yeah.
the
What
assumptions.
about,
Seems like an item for next year, but
the money that we put aside, or try to put aside every year for reval is, we were trying to do 20,
Yeah.
right? And we missed a year. But
Right.
I kind of equate the invasive species fund
To that.
to
that.
that.
Right, and that makes sense, which, yep, because it's a project.
It's a good comparison.
But we don't have the reval
Don't
on
we?
here.
We probably should.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, either they're both
Right.
in or they're both
Yep.
out.
No, yes, I
Yeah.
think it should be here too, because it's a project. And it kind of shows
And we're
that-
mandated by state constitution, it's not like we can say,
take it
no,
out
we're
of
not
it.
gonna
Right.
reval the properties.
Right.
Yep.
It's just a matter of whether you fund that $100,000 in 1 year, which is not feasible, or break it up
Correct.
into the 20.
Yeah. So that's
And
why
and
I,
it's got a 5-year lifespan.
Correct.
So,
In
so
our,
it's,
we have it, we've got a definition of a capital improvement in our purchase or construction, major repair, reconstruction or replacement of capital items such as buildings, utility systems, roadways, bridges, parks, landfills, and heavy equipment, which are of high cost and have a useful life of several years.
so what is that from?
Well, that's from,
Well, our fact sheet.
the fact sheet that we
Oh,
had
yeah.
at the beginning.
So, right, and which is clarified in the law to say 6, at least 6.
yeah, it is 6.
So,
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
yeah,
But see, given that definition, I would leave both invasive species and the reval off of it.
yeah, but you can't go by that definition,
Why?
because it is a summary definition. Those, when they do those definitions,
That's pretty consistent with other things I've found.
yeah, but the warrant article that created us, I believe, talks about more specific items, like 3 years or
32
something.
what?
Yes.
Sorry, what's?
I have that in my thing someplace.
Shoot, I had it open the other day.
It's 6:30.
We gotta hurry up, because we don't wanna be done today, we gotta be done.
674:5.
Yeah,
I mean, we said in the definition in this that we all agreed to was, long-term strategy for funding and prioritizing major projects such as building repairs and renovations, road construction, large vehicle purchases, or new public facilities.
Yeah, which is pretty much right from this defined definition.
Yeah.
Per statute, the capital improvements program may encompass major projects being currently undertaken or future projects to be undertaken with federal, state, county, and other public funds. That's how broad it is.
Yeah,
right,
yeah, because what does project mean?
right, it was Project Me.
See, I don't think that any of these other things that we've talked about are projects. If we were doing pavement management program, to me, that's a project. Road reconstruction, that's a project, right?
I have another thing from OpenGov.
That's what I
Capital
was just looking at,
project definition, a capital improvement project, also called a capital project, is typically a permanent structural change to a property or asset to prolong its life, increase its value, or enhance its capabilities. Asset upgrades or large-scale maintenance. So repaving.
And it's just, they're vague. I think they're deliberately vague.
Yeah, well, sure.
Yeah.
open
You
to
know,
inter-
that's the problem, everything's deliberately vague so that
Yes.
you can interpret it.
So I guess that's one of the differences between you and I, John, because I think that's pretty clear.
Well, I don't think it looks much.
I'm fine. I mean, if you, for the purposes of visibility and things, if people want to add textbooks, I don't think they quite fit, but I have no major objection
Ellen,
to
what's
it.
your guidance?
What is my guidance on this? I think you really need to be able to focus on the projects that we're trying to work toward. Those are, you know, unfortunately, like funding the invasive species, we know that we have to do that in order to protect the quality of the lake and ensure the property values, much like we have to do the revaluation. But I think those are items that are automatically assumed and given, and that we know that we have to plan for, not, you know, like a renovation to the police department or the purchase of a truck that's going to have a useful life for 10 years.
I want to take a invasive species out.
I almost wanna look at
rather
it as
than
just like a
putting the other ones
recurring,
in.
an annual recurrence, we know that it's gonna be there forever and ever in perpetuity.
Again, this isn't a funding tool,
Right.
but again,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
it kind of meets the criteria, I think, so.
I'm fine if you guys wanna take it out, honestly. 'Cause that was my original thought, to take it out, but
I mean, realistically, to that point, you know, do we have to plan for funding the capital reserve funds? Again, we know that we have to
Right.
build those funds in order to make the purchase down the road happen.
See, I'm okay with those because they are supporting capital improvements.
well, right, but if you only put in the purchases that you expect to put,
But,
then you're kind of putting that, and that's the whole, we were talking about doubling things and, you know. So if your plan is to buy a truck in 2030, whatever, and you put in capital reserve, X dollars every year, that doesn't really matter because it's the value at the end. That's your savings plan, which is really not the capital. That's your savings, and you're actually expending it when you purchase the capital at whatever year you do. So,
so if you think of this as a snapshot of your capital assets and improvements, right? Then the capital funds become a funding source.
I agree with that.
They're a
Right, they're a
funding
funding
source, we
source.
talked about that, but the contributions every year is helping to build that
That
source
source.
of capital
yeah,
projects or
right,
assets.
and honestly, we're getting ready to put this in the book. This
Yeah.
is not really the time to come, you know, to make a major change of how
But
we
these are
really-
these are new additions, building repair, CRF and grounds improvement, those got added last meeting. But I don't honestly think they fit the criteria. I understand that they're a funding source and they need to be maintained and be rolled, so that you know you're
Right.
funding them to
And
support
maybe we,
these.
and we can talk about this fundamentally differently for like next year, and maybe show the CIP itself, and then show
the
funding.
And roll those.
Right, and have that as a
But do they
separate.
belong here now?
Probably not.
So,
And then, because one other quick thing about it is that unassigned fund balance, like, in order to beef up things like our building repair capital reserve fund, we may just ask to raise it and appropriate it outside of unassigned fund balance, which we've done in the past.
which is fine too.
Yeah. But I wouldn't want to give people the impression when they look at this that we may do something that has more of a tax impact. I don't know, I just get nervous about what people have an
No, and that-
expectation when they see something.
And that's very
That's
important,
wise,
especially if it's something that doesn't wander its way down the road. It's not good to put something in there that is never gonna happen,
Gonna happen.
Right.
so.
I mean, we'll do it, but I mean, it's possible we would have a tax impact when we did it. I don't want to come across as making some sort of statement that
Yeah,
Yep.
that it wouldn't have tax impact because it's unassigned fund balance.
Okay, so where are we at? Are we taking out EFT and you wanna take those out, Sue, or you wanna leave those?
Those are, to me, in my mind, new additions.
Okay, so we're gonna
That-
leave those.
And I don't necessarily see them as fitting, but if the group does, I'm okay with it. But I think that as a board, we may ask for building repair warrant article this year, and it's possible we're gonna ask to raise and appropriate and not take it out of unassigned fund balance.
I take them out.
I don't know, I,
Yeah, it's hard.
I didn't realize the difference between the way in which the school district
I
does
think
their stuff too.
consistency is important.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it's almost like, I don't think I wanna be involved with a CIP for the school.
Well,
But anyway,
you have to, it's
no, I
part
know,
of the.
I know,
Yeah,
I know.
yes, we know.
Yeah.
Right, and that's why we put them in because of consistency.
Right, so I look at these two, the building repair and grounds improvement, as something that exists, and I don't, in the end result, these two numbers that we have here now, a total of $65,000 may actually be zero because of the unassigned fund balance, right? So the capital reserve fund that exists,
Right.
I personally see the build and repair CRF and the grounds improvement CRF as definitely, these are funding sources, but I think that that the governing body and the board and the administration should be looking at year over year and determining what funds are going in there. And I also think we may not use unassigned fund balance if we have a critical need. And so I don't want to give the impression that it would always be
I see what-
unassigned
yeah.
fund balance. And I think this year we may ask for more than 50, given our issues
yeah,
at the school. So to me, I see it as something we should look at next year as a funding source, and maybe not put it up here where our actual capital improvements are.
is it always a warrant article?
Yes, in order to replenish those, you use a warrant article, and typically it comes from unassigned fund balance, and it goes in order until you expend the unassigned fund balance. However, there are times that you can raise and appropriate with a tax impact to put into it when you have a special elevated need, and we indicate that on the warrant.
So, the unassigned fund balance that exists for a particular year would be identified as adding X amount of dollars into the, as a for instance, the grounds improvement capital reserve fund. It wouldn't be 50 grand, but it might be 47 or something.
Yeah.
Or it could be the order in which it's placed on the warrant until you go through what's left. So you get your audited financials, you get a number of, you get
Yeah.
your excess.
Yeah, okay.
And then that is applied in the order that they're placed on the warrant until it's gone.
It always makes sense to me, so I vote yes, but I don't really read it.
Yeah, it's basically, right, it just goes in order.
Yeah.
If it's, the first one
Until
is,
you're out.
the first one's 50, so if you have 79 left, the first one's 50, it fills the 50, second one's 25, it fills the 25, the third one's 10, it only fills 4.
Okay, so where are we landing on this? Are we landing that we include it or we don't include it?
I was looking at it from the standpoint of what these numbers mean to the bottom numbers down here, the totals.
Right.
And
I think that
don't know.
these numbers really should, that the district or the school or the town should look at what they've got here and then sit down with their financial folks and their administrator and say, okay, here's our balance, here's what we spent, here's what we need to put in, and then roll that every year to support this.
Yeah,
So,
So
For
I don't
20
think it should be in there.
so for 2025,
Yeah,
those are coming out of unassigned fund balance, right, already?
I,
That's
we
already.
may,
know,
we may not. We may put out a warrant article, we're working on them now, and our business administrator is working on rolling them. We may ask for more than 50, and it may be a straight
But
appropriation.
wouldn't that apply to 2026?
Oh,
For the
This-
school, that would apply to 2026, right?
this is for the budget that's coming up that we're working on now.
Right.
This first column is for the, my understanding is that these numbers, 25, 26, are the beginning of the year, not the end of it. So we're currently in the 24, 25.
I'm
Year.
just trying to relate it, because
Yeah,
the
we were all
school's done a half year, a different half year, and if it's,
yes,
because the articles for this year that you're putting out are a year and a half away, or whatever, they're not for,
They're gonna come
They're-
out of the
they'll start
period
for-
ending June 30th, 2025. I don't
So these will
think
come out
they're
from-
capital
So
improvement.
here's what I think. I think that we do this, and what we've been trying to do is to make sure that it's clear and useful to people, right? But if there's so much unclarity around those two things,
Then
and
it's not
where the
helpful.
money is coming from, or may not be those numbers, I think we should take them out. I think we should take the EFT for invasive species out, and I think we should take that out.
And we're coming out of a default budget, and we've had additional expenditures this year for high school students and
Okay.
also on the
Right.
building. So it's probably logical to assume we won't have enough money to fund much. And I don't wanna give the impression that we do.
all right, so let's strike those.
Strike those. So let me
I can live
go
with
back to.
Those three?
Yeah.
Go back to, okay, so recycling center equipment capital reserve fund, and then, I guess that one doesn't matter. That's 2,500, but, so it's under the capital improvement amount, but we said we were gonna leave it because it's going into the fund, is that correct?
Which one? Sorry?
For,
The first line under public works, cause it's $2,500.
Oh, yeah, for this, it's always $2,500. Yeah, that
Yeah, I
probably
think 2025, it was going to be higher, it was gonna be 15,000 to work towards replacing a baler when,
It's not gonna happen now. So we can pull that line.
Yeah, pull that line. Right, if we're gonna pull these capital reserves things,
Well, it's the amount.
yeah,
Yeah.
the amount falls out anyway.
Yep. Can I make a suggestion that people in this room right now might not like?
You can make it, well, you can
Sure.
always-
Once we get this done, would it make sense for us to have like one or two more meetings to talk through all of these questions?
Yes,
yes.
Yeah,
Rather than kicking
yes,
the can
which is
to
why,
next year?
right, yeah, no, I agree.
I'd rather do
completely.
it now.
You almost
Yeah.
need like a formation workshop or something, or like,
Exactly.
what do you want this to look like?
Right,
Exactly.
right, because
Yeah.
we've been pushing, I mean, that's the problem, it's been pushed off
yeah.
for
I
so
like that.
long.
It's a good,
That
it's,
we need to kind of reestablish ground rules.
Yeah,
sounds good.
yep, okay.
I think it's
So,
perfect.
and that's why I'm like, all right, we got less than 10 minutes to kind of wrap this up for the book.
Yeah,
So that's why I'm trying to kind of like
Yeah.
focus on what makes the most sense for us
Yeah.
to do now.
so we've made,
Well, we made progress.
we've made 3 changes, right? Get rid of the invasive species,
Yeah.
and then get rid of the 2 school building
Repair,
repair
grounds
and grounds improvement.
Just the capital reserve
Yep, yep.
funds themselves.
And then we said we were leaving the grader, right?
I have,
Yes.
yeah, I have 3 requests, just for terminology. On additional building space, can we just change that to school building addition? And then I'd like the group's opinion on this. When we initially set this up, we had stated that it was for, a non-stick built. It was for,
Like a prefab or modular?
yeah, it wasn't modular, it was, because if we do something different, it's gonna be higher, but we'll address that next year. So we'll just put school building addition and leave it at that. And then under windows, could we just add the word replacement and then kiln replacement, so that people know that these are replacements, not new? And under the windows, I think that we can say we'll use capital reserve / warrant article instead of leaving that open.
That's the TBD.
Yeah, I mean, we know we'll have to use one of those too. And we, again, on the building, we had put prefabricated building addition. I don't know if we need to get down to that granular
No, I
level,
think-
but 2.5 definitely relates to prefab versus, a conventional build. So if we, maybe, once we do some work on
Yeah, I
that.
don't think that really
Doesn't
needs to be
matter.
that specific.
Okay, just wanna check.
It's just, like you said, school addition, I think is plenty, doesn't, you know, because there's no plan. Until you have a formulated plan, it's,
Okay.
all right. Any other, so we're wiping out a bunch of lines.
Yeah.
You- I assume you're doing this now?
Sorry.
All right, so I got rid of the recycling, do you want to start from the top?
Yeah.
Recycling center equipment capital reserve fund, we omitted that. The grader replacement, pavement management plan, we already took off. Invasive species expendable trust fund. We're changing line 1 under the school to school building addition, removing the building repair CRF and the grounds improvement CRF, adding the word replacement to after windows and kiln. And also the funding source for the windows will be capital reserve fund and warrant article.
Yep, you're good.
Okay.
I can live with all of those. I think those are good changes.
All right.
I have 2 that were
good?
exactly the same. And I just crossed it out.
All right. All right.
Well, because
So,
we could
are we ready to publish?
hash out some of the,
If you want, once I get this cleaned up, I'll send it off to the entire committee. Just respond back to me individually if you see anything.
Okay.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Do you need a motion or anything?
It's the written plan and the spreadsheet plan, right?
Do we need a motion? I don't know. Do we need a
Could-
motion
is
if we
there
all
s-
agree? Do we?
Is there somewhere on this that we could add the date?
Of course.
Because I dropped my notebook and
It's down here in the bottom right corner, but it's really tiny.
you smarty pants. Great, I dropped a notebook with a bunch that didn't have dates and
Oh,
it wasn't pretty.
sorry for that. I
No,
must
no,
have done the
that's
same
good.
thing.
Thank you, I didn't
Oh,
even see
yeah,
this.
no, it's-
I save
Okay.
each draft as a new dated format,
Awesome, thank you.
so I have all the past ones, but
Need my dates,
All right, are you ready to adjourn then?
yeah?
We're good?
I think we're good.
Yeah, we're good. You-
All right.
Unless you want
All right, so,
somebody to make a motion.
we'll, to kind of have like the next phase of meetings, do you wanna try in like 2 weeks, or take a month and then come back, or what do you guys wanna do?
I would think sometime after March would be,
Okay.
As
don't wanna
long as we
wait
do it, if we did it right after March, that would be great. I mean, I don't care if we do it next week, it doesn't matter. I
Yeah,
think it's
doesn't
important
matter.
that we do it.
Yeah, I do.
And
One
then,
thing for the board people, if you do it after March, you're probably gonna have new
You could-
people.
right,
You're
you
gonna
could get
lose some
some-
continuity
you
for
might
the
get new
closing
people.
discussion, if you
Right.
will.
the people can stay.
Right, well, depends.
here's the newbies on the boards.
If you like us.
So, I mean, it would probably make more sense to do it before March,
I think so, yeah.
also while it's fresh in our head.
but, but
These are philosophical
I don't know
discussions
what
that will leave me
works when-
shortly.
When does the churns kind of stop?
Deliberative sessions for February 1st, so that it's just a waiting game until
Yeah.
voting by ballot.
So,
In early March.
February.
right, we can do February, after February
After.
first. Okay. That's, makes perfect sense, because it'll be a little quiet.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, after February first,
Okay.
Or
And
just let
probably
me know.
after
That's
February
pretty
5th for Sue.
specific.
or after February fifth, I guess, after the first week of February, just in case there's a snow date.
You want that done?
No, I made those changes, but the goal of that is for this to fit on just one side of this.
Right.
So I gotta do a little more reformatting or
I
something.
think Alan's got it.
I did live changes in your document,
In the, oh, you did? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
because that was, the goal was to make it one page,
So
so.
you have it down to one page?
Yeah, she's
Yep.
got it down on
Oh,
one page.
perfect, okay.
Okay.
Thank you, Donna, for
All right.
your
Yeah,
work
thank
on
you for
that.
that.
Yes, thank you, you
And
did,
communication.
that was a fabulous job, one-handed even.
I know.
It might have caused it, I don't know.
That's not carpal tunnel, is it?
No, it's, falling flat on your face and
Oh,
trying to
yeah,
break
that's
your
right.
fall with your hand.
You're honest,
New Year's Eve?
made up something more dramatic.
No, I probably wouldn't have gotten hurt then.
All right, we're adjourned, we're adjourned.
I'll make a motion, we do.
Unanimous.
I second that.
All in favor, aye.
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 With 1 minute to spare, congratulations.